Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Logic Ops. So as we have come till this video, it means that you have studied all my videos and congratulations, you have completed the course. Now we are going to talk about a few interview questions and a few tips about it. So how are the questions are asked in a DevOps or an SRE interview in terms of scripting. So there can be a number of questions, but I'll throw some light on these four scripts. I'll just clean my screen and walk you through this. So what happens is they can ask you they cannot ask you like too much programming because that's what developers do. But I'm not saying that it's a constraint to learn. You can learn almost anything. What I'm saying over here is you at least should know the batch scripting. Even if you're going for an interview for SRE DevOps or automation engineer or an automation tester, you should know these. And for developer, this is one of those things that you have to know. Okay, so the basic thing he can ask you to calculate the array length. Now, what array length is? So there is not a separate function, no direct function, but we can iterate over the array or the values. So we can just name it values, save it. Let me run it. So 04 tab enter. So it has given us a value of 4. How we are doing it? We are setting my array. So what will he judge based on this program or a script? He'll judge that you at least know how to declare the arrays and you know the concept of the indexing, where it starts from, how you assign the values and how you iterate over them. You have to iterate over them, then you have to use a few things. For example, you have used a goto over here and you know the labels, so he will judge you by that at least you know this. So I'm not saying that every DevOps and SRE has to write huge chunks of code. No, uh, every company has their own standards. Some do 50% ops, 50% coding kind of a thing. Some companies have like 80% infra work, ops work, and 20% scripting. It depends on the company, and you can go either way. I mean, you want to be strong in this aspect or that aspect. That depends totally on you. Okay, let's circle back to our script. So I have given it 4 times over here. I have explained this before as well, but I'm just throwing light on it so that you can have at least kind of a refresher. So how do you declare an array? You have given 4 values. It starts from 0th index till third index. Total 4 values. You are setting up value over here and you are running it through. And this is a defined. This is a keyword. It looks for that my array has been defined or not. Yes, it is defined. It will run 4 times because it is I equal to I plus 1. It will go for 1, 2, 3, 4, and until unless it reaches 4, it sees that okay, there is no my arr 4. It will stop and then it will give the result in the form of I, because that's what we are incrementing over here, which is a counter. So that's how it works, guys. Let's go to our reverse loop. Now when he asks you to reverse loop, or he can ask you to print a pattern or something in scripting, this applies to like when you are a fresher and they ask you to script or code in something. They ask generally these kind of questions, and because like as a fresher we cannot expect a lot from you, but you should at least need to know logic. Okay, so for this he'll judge you like how do you know that whether there is a for loop, and you know whether how to run it or not, and what is the perfect syntax. So you can tell okay, I'll show you like how to run it in a opposite manner. So everyone runs from 1 to 10, like I'll run from 10 to 1. So what is the 10 over here? So 10 is the start, minus 1 is the decrement. So if you want to increase that, you can remove this minus sign and it will be increment, and 1 is the end position where you want to reach. What are you doing over here? You are just echoing one by one everything in that loop. Let me run it. 03, that's what it runs. You can see. Let me clean this so that you can have a better view. Yeah. So by this he will judge you like whether you know about a for loop and how do you run it, and he can ask you what are these 3 values, what is this do, what is this in, what is this happening, and control and flow. And this is very necessary because once you write script, there is a heavy and a high chance that you will use for loop to iterate over your program or a script. Okay, let's move on to our string operations. In string, he will judge you on the basis of whether you know what to write, how do you take a substring kind of a question. So that can be all be controlled by this. So all you need to know that you have to set a string percentile str colon, and you have to give this tilde, and this is 0 to 5. So from 0 before 5, fifth value. So if I'm given hello Ravish over here, it will print hello. So the first thing it will print is left string, second thing it will print is hello Ravish, and third string is the substring. So on this basis you can pick out left string, right string, mid string, or something. Let me run this and see what happens. Sorry, my bad. 02, hit a tab, enter, and that's how it works, guys. So I think these concepts are clear. If not, you can go through this stuff which I've already written, and I'll put that on GitHub today itself, because I think my course is ending today. Yeah, so let's move on to our final program. This is one of the famous program or a script that people ask. We call it Fibonacci series. Even if I take interviews, I always ask this because this explains a lot of things to me. First, that a guy at least have some basic knowledge of the scripting. He can choose any language. He can choose Python, he can choose Shell, he can choose Bash scripting. And I judge him on the basis of that whether he is able to put that logic or not, because in this there are a few things that you can judge. First, that whether he knows Fibonacci or not. That's a basic concept in school and colleges, you learn about it. Second thing is, what is his logic, how is it doing. There are many ways to do it, because there is a concept known as recursion. So what exactly is recursion? So recursion depends on recursive function. So when a function calls itself, or when a method calls itself, it is known as recursive function or a recursive method, and this phenomena is known as recursion. So that's one of the ways to do it, and a lot of people ask these questions in interviews. Even now, yeah, they do that because it explains a lot of understanding on how you tackle the problem and how will you solve the problem once you are in the company. It is very interesting thing that I have not used a rem now. I have used this double colon. This is one of the way to make your script look beautiful, and it is looking really good. You can write your stuff over here. If you are the author, you can write your name, and then you can check in your code wherever you want to. Okay, this is very interesting thing. Enable delayed expansion. We'll talk about this at the end of the whenever I'll finish explaining it. I'll explain what is happening. Now, what exactly is happening over here? Let's see. Let me move this to right. Let me hide this, and now we talk about it. We will CLS over here. Okay, so what are we doing is we are initializing the variables, the first two variables. Okay, let us understand what exactly is a Fibonacci series. 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on. Okay, so what is happening over here is the first two terms when added forms a third term, 1. So what you can say is every term is a result of previous two terms addition. So if you want to move back, let's say 8. So 5 and 3 is 8. 3 and 2 is 5. 2 and 1 is 3. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 0 is 1. And that's how it works, right? It's not moving there. I'm just explaining it that way. So every term is an addition of previous two terms. That's how it works, right? You can make a formula n plus 1, something like that. I don't remember it right now. Okay, so let's circle back to our program or a script. So let me just run this and we'll show you what exactly is happening. So 0, 1, hit a tab, enter, and you can see 0, 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, and so on. Okay, now what we are doing is, what he'll judge you on that whether you're using for loop or not. He'll ask you from where to where you are running it, and then the keywords you're putting it nicely or not. It is not case sensitive. You can write it capital or small, that does not matter. Adding the previous value to generate the next Fibonacci value, which is here. Some people call it Fibonacci, some people call it Fibonacci. I call it Fibonacci. It sounds better, and I think it's the correct pronunciation. Okay, I think we are digressing. So here we are swapping the values for next iteration, and here we are printing the results. So let us walk one by one on what is happening. So in the first iteration, if you'll see, the value of x1 is 0 and the value of x2 is 1. So x1 is printed over here, so this is done. Fine. Now we'll talk about these values. Once it goes over here, it's setting the local value, use slash a because it's a numerical value, and we are adding 0 and 1 over here. So x3 is now 1. It will come here, it will swap the values. X1 is now 1, and x2 is, what is x3 value? 1. Okay, now it will print the result 1, so it will be 1 over here. Again it will come similarly. When this value swaps, x1 will be having 1. Now after that iteration, things become interesting. In third iteration, what will happen is x1 will be 1, x2 will be 2 because it added and x3 got transferred to it. So x3 becomes 3, and here it prints 2 because the value has gone to 2. If you're getting confused, because I'm speaking, because in my mind everything is going fine, but you might get confused as when I speak. So what you can do is you can write iteration on a paper, and always try to write it on paper if you do not understand anything, because here your compiler is doing everything and it's giving you result, but you have to understand stuff. So write in my paper and you can understand it, and that's how it works, guys. And it will run till 8 times, and then it will result all these values in front of you. So that's how it works, guys. Okay, now let's talk about set local enable delayed expansion. Okay, so what exactly it is? So it is the idea of expanding variables right before we need them, rather than right before the command. So sometimes what happens is you're setting a message hello and you are echoing it, and then you have a pause and then end of the file. Okay, so that as soon as you write set message hello, in that set message, when it moves to the next line, it will say, oh, there is a variable defined, and then it echoes it. So the way batch actually works, that it checks for variables before it executes the line. So whenever it reads the line and there is a variable associated, then what will do it will check the value and then it will execute it. So I was saying that it checks the variables before it executes the line of command or a code, and then injects those values or variables in the command before it runs. So that's how it works, guys. Or the other thing about this is that we are using exclamation mark over here, because exclamation we are using percentile to reference everything, but in case of enable delayed expansion, we are using these values. Okay, let me once more explain in a simple language. Whenever you have a for loop, okay, so before moving that, the set local enabled expansion has to be on the top, because it's kind of a global thing. Okay, now let's circle back to for loop. So whenever you have in for loop, there are a lot of values that changes inside this for loop. Okay, and then whenever you want to use, if I do not use enable delayed expansion over here in my after set local, what will happen, the values over here will not get the latest value in the variables. So if we want to use the most updated version of variables and not the explained outside, so if you have set any value outside and you are using that inside, there could be a discrepancy. So use enable delayed expansion to get the latest value, um, or the most updated version of the variable and not the explained outside. And as I told, that we keep it at the start so that it can be used globally. So that's what the concept. If you find it a bit confusing, feel free to you drop your message. We can explain it again, and I'll try to link it with some links through which you can go through and study and have a better understanding at it. So yeah, so here we are done, guys. Congratulations, you have finished this course, and I'll try to add more courses to it. This is just the first course. So thank you, guys, and have a nice day.